2025 was one of the craziest years in human history, but we're now going into 2026. And all of last year, I was talking about the catalyst of 2025, but there was something so important that I missed, and I cannot believe that I missed it. You are not going to want to miss this. Hiya guys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, and all beautiful souls of planet Earth. I'm Sean Hills, and this is A Soul's Experience, a channel dedicated to helping the human race remember who we really are. What does 2026 have in store for humanity? Well, all of last year, if you've been watching this channel for some times, welcome back, you beautiful soul experiences. If you want to become a soul experiencer, all you got to do is hit that subscribe button and you can watch more fantastic videos like this one and be in the know when it comes to what's going to be happening on this planet and in the spiritual world. More than that, this channel is a channel of light and love. And everywhere we look, the mainstream media and people want to push fear because it plays on our primordial kind of senses of fight or flight. Well, we need to counteract that negativity with positivity, and channels like this is what that is all about. So come along for the ride as we dive into 2026. So if you have been watching this channel for a while, you would have seen that I had a vision in 2007. Now in this vision I saw a first world-changing event in 2020, and we all know what happened that year. Now in my vision, if you watch back at me explain, I explain there is a build-up energetically. 2021, 22, 23, 24, 25. And I felt this huge release, this huge explosion. Almost this huge world-changing event. And afterwards came a golden line from 2026 going into the golden age. And I told people about this growing up. I told my friends and family. And when the world did change 5 years ago, 6 years ago, now, when the world did change 6 years ago, I was waiting for 2025. But there's something that I missed. Energetically, when the world changed 6 years ago, it was a build-up to 2025. And I swore the catalyst was in 2025 because that was the last year. But the year did happen, you know, as this year will happen. But I assumed the catalyst would be in the last year. And it could have been, I said June or July. And now the last catalyst came out of the blue. This is also very interesting. The last catalyst came out of the blue at the beginning of 2020. But what caused that catalyst to happen was actually in play at the end of 2019. And I can't believe I missed that. So every piece of evidence points to the catalyst may already being here, but the actual catalyst, if you want to call the effects, the reaction from the action, happening in 2026. Happening, and I missed it. I missed it, guys. I could have swore it was 2025. But just like the world-changing event in 2020, the actual event started in 2019. But the reaction to the action wasn't seen by the world. Everything what happened to the planet, simultaneously, unitedly, wholly, as one. The first time I can ever remember, and apart from a natural disaster that wipes out the whole planet, an extinction event, you're not going to get closer to a universal event. A universal event from Hong Kong to Sydney to London to Paris to New York to LA to Johannesburg. You know, from Hawaii to Canada down to Argentina and all the way across to Iceland. Everywhere, apart from, actually I'm going to say a couple of Scandinavian countries that went against the grain. Sweden or Switzerland, I believe, said we're not listening to the rest of the world, and they've done that multiple times. That country, them countries, done that multiple times. Whether it's come to pandemics, whether it's come to wars, whatever it's come to, they're kind of nah. It's cold over here. We're surrounded by mountains. None of you guys are going to bother coming over here anyway. It's too expensive to come over here anyway. You know, the playground for the rich and famous. They do what they want. But the rest of the world, we was unitedly... It affected us the first time anyone, for generations, thousands, millions, millennia. That is the first... And no one thought. If you had told people there is going to be an event that affects the whole planet, it sounds terrifying. But what happened 6 years ago was an event that affected the whole planet. And yes, it was terrifying by the way it was portrayed. And yes, severe. I know people that passed away in that period of time, and it was put down to what was going on, you know. But hey ho, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the fact that let's keep it light. We're here to talk about the fact that the whole world changed. The whole world changed, and energetically it was linked to last year. But also, when I explain in my vision, it's like an eruption, a letting go. It's kind of like an explosion, a release. That's the best word I can use right now. The word release. It's a huge global release that comes about in a certain way. And looking at what happened 6 years ago, I've missed it by a year, guys. I've missed it by a year. It's this year. And if it follows the pattern, it will be early this year. February, March. And that makes perfect sense. And I'll tell you why now. We follow here in the Western world the Gregorian calendar, which is based off 12 months, based off 12 hours in a day. Now, if we look at Mayan calendars, which are based off 13 months, it eliminates the fact that you have to have a leap year, you have to add an hour here, add an hour there. It kind of just fits a lot better. And for whatever reason, to get us knocked off our natural cycle a little bit, I believe it runs that deep. To get us a little bit knocked off our natural cycle, a couple of hours during the day or a month, a month out the year was removed. And it knocks the whole human cycle off. We have to have a leap year. We have to, add an hour here, and then we have to take an hour back. In winter, we have to spring forward in spring an hour, and it just knocks the human body off its cycle. However, if we don't follow the Gregorian calendar, the new year begins in March, astronomically, with the equinox. The new year begins in March, which matches perfectly. February, March. What happened in February, March of 2020? We all got locked down. The whole planet. Masks, 2 meter distancing. The lot. All these rules. I remember I was going to visit my son, and I got stopped by a policeman, and they asked me what I was doing, where I was going on the train. And I had to explain I was going for a visitation with my son, so then I was allowed. But if I was going to just pop around to see my mate, I would have been nicked. Fined, possibly. Told to go home. It's like we forget. We have human amnesia. We forget how bad it really got. Police patrolling the train stations and the streets, asking people what their business was out on the street. You know what I mean? But that didn't come into effect until the February, March. Even though many people, including myself, had already been sick in the November, the October, the December of 2019. So that matches perfectly with not using the Gregorian calendar, but using the astronomical calendar and the equinox and using the real cycles of nature, of energetic calendar formation. Then we can see that the new year starts in March, the 21st or the 22nd, or around the 20th of March. So that's a date. Any time up until that date, really, but around that date which is very, very funny. It's my older sister's birthday around that date. So around that date, we're going to have to really, really keep an eye out for certain things. But what do we need to keep an eye out for in 2026? And what has already happened that this channel predicted would happen? Let's take a look at that now. When I first started going through my spiritual awakening, if you want to call it that, 6 years ago now, after sort of the first, second year, for no reason whatsoever, I had this urge to get this tattoo. I've never really watched the films V for Vendetta, but I had this urge, and I always had a real pull towards the story of Guy Fawkes. And after my spiritual awakening, I kept feeling the word revolution. And I made multiple videos about it, and I kept telling people revolution is coming. We're about to see things in certain countries that have never been seen before. I specifically spoke about the Middle East. I spoke about Iran, and I spoke about Iraq, and I spoke about the type of repression that can be seen or perceived as repression in them situations. I spoke about a change, an uprising, a revolution globally. And we are seeing that now. We are in the phase of revolution. Revolution is a form of change allowing itself to happen here in the physical. It's another type of release. It's the people saying enough is enough of the old ways. Things need to change. We are learning all the time that energetically we are linked to this great planet Gaia, Mother Earth. And as the grounds have been shaken, the people have been awakened. We can see that the activity, volcanic and earthquake activity on this planet at the minute has been rising and rising and rising. The earth is literally awakening. The earth wants a change as well with us. As the earth awakens, so do we. And we can see our behaviour mirrored in the earth's actions. Now, any one of my visions I had last year, the volcano in Italy, I had the dream, the really prophetic dream with Donald Trump, where I rode out in really rough seas and Donald Trump was just stood on this pier and he was watching Luftwaffe, German planes, a fleet of them, about 20 to 30, maybe 40, maybe more, were flying overhead and they were attacking a country. I made a video about this dream last year and maybe the year before. So there was Donald Trump and I rode to Donald Trump and I looked and it was so real. He looked down at me and I said, "They have no idea what's coming, do they?" And he said, "No, they have no idea what's coming." The strange thing was, as I looked up and I saw the Luftwaffe, German planes fly overhead, a voice in my head said, "They're working with the Russians." So wars, volcanic activity, any single one of these, a natural disaster would be devastating to the planet and could in itself be the catalyst. But now looking back, I think that they were visions showing me signs to look out for the times that we are in now. Golden age for humanity begins this year, guys, I promise you. But for the human race to fling forward in our spirituality, in our awakening, in our humanness, first the tension must be pulled back, just like an elastic band. An elastic band doesn't go forward by just dropping it in one spot. It needs that tension, it needs that pull. And that's what we're seeing now on planet Earth. That pull of the old ways, trying to keep us in one spot. But the harder they pull, the further forward we're going to launch. And we can't make a video at the minute without talking about 3i Atlas. This thing has been all over the place and still people are guessing as to what it is. Now, I can only go on what I've seen in my remote viewing sessions and my visions. So I heard the word Sagittarius a lot. Sagittarius, followed by Peaceful Exchange Data Software Information. I looked this up and I was drawn to our sister galaxy, Sagittarius. And I also saw a giant black hole. So I believe that 3i Atlas travelled from our sister galaxy Sagittarius through a giant massive black hole in the centre of our galaxy, which is called Sagittarius A, and it's here for a peaceful exchange of data software information. I went back to Remote View 3i Atlas again, and I saw, first of all, a being that appeared to look demonic in nature, but I believe to just be a god of sorts, a interdimensional being. That actually there are characters that I've seen in movies that looked identical. If you think of the Predator with the things, the only difference was this being had horns that kind of came from the mouth, teeth that came from the cheeks. But this being disintegrated and evaporated when I told him that I was there on a quest of love and light. And I don't answer to no other being except for Jesus Christ. It soon disappeared and I was inside 3i Atlas looking at a pod that seemed to be around 20, 30, I don't know, 40 foot tall maybe, you know? And it was stood on this leg, this giant mechanical leg that had a joint. But it was on a stand, it had a foot at the bottom that reminded me of a reel on a fishing rod. If you've ever been fishing, at the bottom of your reel there's a plastic slot. You slot it in and you roll your collars up and you lock your reel in. Well, the foot that this pod, because there was a pod like the Tic Tac pods, the foot at the bottom of this mechanical arm with the joint, it looked the same shape. In fact, the whole thing reminded me of a giant mechanical reel. But there was no reel on it. At the top of the leg was one of them Tic Tac looking UFO things, but it looked longer, it looked sleeker, it looked more like a long, like a perfectly formed gherkin cucumber kind of shape. So it was like the Tic Tac UFOs, but kind of longer. It wasn't as fat, it was kind of longer and slimmer. And once I had recognised I was looking at a craft, I was then allowed to see inside the bay area where these craft were being kept. And they were all up the wall. And I was in around what appeared to be metal, around Zeppelin, like balloon, like the hot air balloon. If you imagine a hot air balloon made of metal with all like round metal structure, holding the whole thing in place, 300 foot to 500 foot long and tall, 150 feet, 200 feet high, long shape. In fact, it represented the small pods. It was the same kind of shape as the pods on the legs, but it was much, much bigger. It was an area inside 3i Atlas that was housing what could have been hundreds of these pods. They were all up the wall, which I thought was interesting because they had these stands, but they weren't on their stands. They were attached to the wall. So I'm not sure whether this stand thing comes out and the pod releases, or whether the stand folds up and then it flies off like that, and then the stand comes out and they can stand. I'm not sure what it does or how it comes out, but they were all up the wall. And so from what I've seen in my visions, 3i Atlas is definitely not a comet, an ordinary comet, because it felt like it was camouflaged, it was hidden. It felt like there was no way with our human technology we was going to be able to decipher what this thing was. However, if we listen to the sentence, peaceful exchange data software information, there is data being exchanged. And at first I thought, that means there is a group of beings, or be a group, wouldn't it? There's not going to be one person on Earth that knows what this thing is, but there is a group of beings that knows 100% what this thing is. Not only knows, but could be potentially exchanging, because an exchange is a cross-way thing, exchanging data. Now, we are all software, whether we're physical software, whether we're technological software, the conscious software, which is the planet, the reality that we see ourselves in now. It's a physical kind of software, but made out of waves. It's made out of consciousness. So everything's a type of software. So it makes perfect sense for some sort of data software exchange, but it wanted me to know it was peaceful. So the being I saw on my second remote viewing session, even though it looked scary, I could have looked scary to it. You know, it could have looked at me and thought, whoa, you weird looking thing. You know? So yeah, 3i Atlas, guys, you know, when I saw something happening last year, I explained it as a butterfly. And the wings folded into June and July. and then they folded out into 2026, and I saw something major happening in June and July, and I made videos about that as well. And it's really, really interesting that 3i Atlas was first spotted at the beginning of July. And you can't get more in the middle of June and July than at the very beginning of July. So I thought that was really, really interesting there. The story of 3i Atlas isn't over yet, I don't believe. And also, if we look back at Italy at the minute, I'm really, really praying for the people of Italy, because the government there are pulling their hair out with evacuation drills, thinking about getting people out of there. The situation in Italy has gotten really, really bad. Mount Etna's been waking up now. I've been focused mainly on Campi Flegrei, but just focusing on Campi Flegrei and the Phlegrean fields is doing an injustice to just how dangerous Italy really is. It is smothered and covered with volcanoes and calderas, and the activity there, earthquakes every single day. And in my vision, I saw a man in the rubble. I saw a lake of fire, and I saw a man in the rubble, trapped from his waist down, holding the Leaning Tower of Pisa, which sits in Sicily, which is a little island just underneath Italy. And Sicily itself is covered with volcanoes, and just off the coast, as if it couldn't get any worse, guys. Just off the coast of Italy, they've just discovered some more. In the ocean, they've just discovered some more super volcanoes. I kept seeing other people in this space, shall I say. I don't want to say spiritual people, medium, because we are all spiritual. There's one thing we're trying to do is break the mold on what it means to be spiritual on this channel. If you think you don't look the right way, you don't sound the right way, you don't talk the right way, you don't have the right friends, you're not in the right groups, you don't have the right thought patterns, let me tell you, if you're a human being, you're spiritual. Whether we like it or not, we are eternal beings, and death is not the end. And in 2026, lots and lots more conversations are going to be happening around these types of topics. Oh God, I need a haircut. I do need a haircut. Should I just let it grow? Just let it grow, maybe. Just let it come right over the face like that, and just peek through some curtains like this. Yeah, so I've seen lots of people in this spiritual space, shall I say, and lots of them were saying 2026, and I kept saying, you got it wrong. It's 2025. It's not 2026, it's 2025. However, from what we've discovered from the beginning of this video, all of the evidence does point to 2026. So I want to say I'm sorry to all those people that said that the real changing, the real effects were going to be taking place in 2026. I'm sorry, I didn't see it. I didn't see it, and it doesn't make any sense, because I don't know how I missed it. I just don't know how I missed it. It's looking at it now, it's so obvious. Builds to 2025, and then 2026. And even in my visions, when I was explaining in my videos a year ago, I was saying build up, 2025. So I assumed the release, the big shooting into the golden age, I just assumed it was 2025. But we're here now, guys. We're finally here. We're in 2026, and I can feel it. I can feel that golden energy all around. I don't know what the catalyst is going to be. All I can share is what I've seen in my visions. So yeah, we've had let's have a real think now. It was the Maryland. I had a vision, and I saw the White House. And I only saw the gates at first, and I saw the front of the building, and straight away I recognised that's the White House. Once I saw the White House, it opened up, and I saw all of the lawn, the White House lawn with the bushes outside, the black gates. I saw it in detail. And then I heard the word, America's Queen. Something to do with America's Queen. Or America's Queen is coming. It was along them lines, America's Queen is coming. And I came out of my vision and I thought, America doesn't have a queen. It doesn't even have a royal family. What are you talking about, Spirit? What are you talking about? So I looked, and at first I was like, America's Queen. Is there a boat named after a queen? Is it this? Is it that? And then I thought, what is America? What is the great USA? America is a country made of states. Little countries, basically, building up the great states. So I looked. Does America have a state named after a queen? And yes, it does. America has the state Maryland, named after Queen Mary. When I found that out, I thought, blimey. I then looked on the map, and Washington, right where DC is, right where the White House is, right next door is Maryland. Right next to it. And I made a video about it. I did make a video about it. And I said a restoration is coming to America, but there is a snake in the grass. There was a traitor. And it was something to do with Maryland. I said God or faith, spirituality, the awakening is really what's happening. The awakening is going to happen. Restoration. The restoration of love and truth is going to hit America, but first, there was a snake in the grass. There was a traitor. Within the political system, there was a traitor that you had to watch out for, and it was something to do with Maryland. So there was that vision as well. So guys, we've got Three Eye Atlas. We've got the volcanoes in Italy. We've got something to do with Maryland in the United States. Something to do with Maryland. So they're the three things. And then we've got the dream. With Donald Trump, the Luftwaffe, and something to do with the Germans and the Russians. Germans and the Russians, they were like in cahoots. It was like the Russians were really in them planes. It was like I was looking up and I saw the Luftwaffe. I thought, that's Germany. But the voice of the spirit said, nah, they're Russians. Like it was sneaky. Nah, they're Russians. They're not Germans, they're Russians. And then I said to Donald Trump, I said, they got no idea what's coming, have they? And he looked at me and he went, no. Whatever country they were about to attack, they had no idea that it was coming. No one did. And that dream, I put that video up a year and a half ago now, a year ago. So there's multiple things we've got to keep an eye out for this year. But the golden age, I do see it coming this year. It makes there is no event in 2027 that pushes us into this golden age. It's now. It is now, guys. We are right in it. We are in them times, what they called the end times, which is really the end of the Piscean age and the beginning of the age of Aquarius. All of them songs, all of them films, all of them books, all of them poems written about the age of Aquarius. And it's here, it's real, and it's happening. We're going into it. And if you are alive and awake and watching right now, I want to say thank you for being down here on earth with me and all of us at this great time of awakening. It is tough, but it is beautiful. And if there's one thing we like on earth, it's a little bit of beauty. So till next time, guys, please look after yourselves, look after those around you, look after your friends, your pets, your mothers, your brothers, your sisters, and your lovers. Because if we don't love those around us, then we can't receive the love that we all truly deserve. And then we can't give out the love that everybody truly deserves. And that would be a crying shame, because we all have so much love to give on this beautiful planet. And we're going to start seeing that this very year. Mark my words. And I will see you very, very soon. I love you all. Take care for now. And I'll see you soon.